The sell-off continues. Hey there, Tamir from FibonacciTraders.com, your daily market recap. Like, subscribe. Let's see the charts. So let's see what SPY and the rest of the market brought us in the past trading day. SPY ended up the day with 0.52 to the downside. Bears are trying to break this uptrend channel. Let's see this 535.41 gap. We have been talking about this gap for a long time now, and we are just less than 1 inch away from filling up this gap. It might happen Friday, the end of this week, and we might get back inside the uptrend channel. But for now, bearish on all time frames on the SPY. Just put the FTI and you will see that we are bearish on the daily, bullish still on the weekly, because one candle does not change the overall sentiment. We're still in uptrend since April. A very nice uptrend. Look at this, the same pullback we got during April, we are having now. The market is doing the same price action it did before. RSP, the equal weight ETF, closed the day with 0.12% to the upside, but still inside the yellow zone. And once we are still inside the yellow zone, it's a no trading zone. Now the 167 area needs to hold the support. Below it, 166, and this gap will get filled. QQQ continues to break and slide to the downside, 1.1% to the downside. Bearish on all time frames. We are below the yellow zone. And now this trend line, this red trend line, the lower border of the uptrend channel needs to hold the support. If this area, the 453, 452 area will fail to hold, we are heading south to the 436 and might even to the 421. And in my opinion, until next Friday, no trading, especially swing trading. Wednesday, Thursday, July 31st, August 1st, the big ones, all the names and more. Many names, earnings coming up. Wednesday, Thursday, be patient, sit on the fence, sit on hands, do nothing for a few days. Perfectly fine, perfectly normal. We don't need to hit the buy or the sell buttons each and every day. As traders, one of the biggest tests that we have for ourselves is just to sit on hands and just do nothing. Practice patience. Practice doing just nothing. It's a virtue. Dow Jones now heading back to the 50% area, the 396 area, to get retested as support. It was a very important area of resistance. Now needs to hold the support. Otherwise, 392 and 387, we are bearish on the daily, bullish on the weekly. Mixed signals from the FTI, which means no trading. IWM bearish on the 4 hours, already 2 out of 4 time frames for swing traders. We are bearish, still bullish on the daily, still bullish on the weekly. But as you can see, IWM is doing nothing in the past few trading days, in the past 8 trading days. Nothing much, no trend whatsoever. Sideways move, consolidation. Overall, IWM, the Russell 2000, holding very strong relative to the S&P and the QQQ. 215 area now needs to hold the support. Otherwise, we have this gap at the 211 and another gap at the 204. And we know that more than 85% of all gaps will get filled. Bitcoin, for the time that I'm recording this video, back to the upside, 2%, holding strong above the yellow zone, above the 65 area. All this area, very important area of support. Now let's see continuation above the 67, 530, and we are heading north to the 72. But look left, always look left. We are still lower highs since the peak of March. High, lower high, lower high, lower high. 65 area needs to hold the support. Below it, 62, 500 and 60, 300. Ethereum trying to get back 2% for the time that I'm recording this video. This day just started 4 hours ago on the crypto land. But bearish on the daily, struggling to get back inside the lower border of the yellow zone. Look left. Always look left, trade right. If you look left, this 30 area from support, resistance, now resistance. Magnificent 7, the ETF of the Magnificent 7, the MAGS, 1% to the downside, bearish on all time frames. Continuation to the downside, we will see 42 and 39.56. And once again, my opinion only, sit on hands. If you want to trade a Magnificent 7 especially, sit on hands because 5 of the 7 of Magnificent 7 earnings coming up Wednesday and Thursday. Like, subscribe, check the links in the description below. Join me today on this amazing journey on how to become a profitable trader no matter what the market conditions are. We can do money when the market goes down. We can do money when the market goes up. Swing trading, day trading, whatever you want to trade. Check the links in the description below. We have the one-on-one live mentorship with me or the same program pre-recorded, the online expert program. Both programs will gain you access, lifetime support and guidance from me, and of course all Discord channels. Check the links in the description below. Join me today, and once you sign in, once you invest in yourself, I guarantee I will invest myself 200% in you as well. SOXX trying to stay up inside this broad formation, but for now breaking below, bearish on all time frames. 216 is the next support. XLF trying to hold nice above the upper border of the yellow zone, the 42.60 area, holding nice support, but overall mixed signals from the FTI, which means we need to wait. We do nothing. XLU continues to play with our minds. Look at this. Every day, one day up, one day down, one day up, one day down. No price action, no clear trend whatsoever in the past 2 weeks. Still bullish on the daily, still bullish on the weekly, but if you ask me, this is not the time to go long on XLU. XHB, 1.7% to the upside. Still inside this broadening formation, holding nice this broadening formation, but sideways move, nothing much. So same as the XLU, same as the XLF, also the XHB, mixed signals, bearish on the daily, bullish on the weekly. XLE 1.7% to the upside, trying to get back above the yellow zone. Let's see continuation. Can the XLE close the week above the 92 area, and then we can start taking long on XLE towards 92, 90 and 94.50 to the upside. Now look at the KRE, 2.6%. We've been talking about the KRE for so long, and we said this is the strongest sector of them all. And look at this. You know this trend line, you know this green trend line because you follow me on YouTube. We've been talking about this green trend line for many days now. And slowly, KRE grinding up towards this green trend line. This area, the 59 area, will be a very tough resistance. So watch out. But as long as we're above the 55.70, this green label is the stop loss for long. Yes, the FTI gives us buy signals, sell signals. It gives us the green line, stop loss for longs. Gives us red line, stop loss for short, everything that you need, just one click away. If you want access to the FTI, all you need to do is join the golden membership for the Fibonacci traders. You will gain access to all Discord channels and the amazing FTI. Apple 0.5% to the downside. Now we are at the upper border of the yellow zone, breaking down and under 209, 202. No long for now on Apple. We are still bullish on the weekly because we still have higher lows. Apple still holding above this yellow trend line. with a doji of a trend line might signal somewhat of a bounce, but in my opinion, for now, as long as Apple is below 224 area, no long on Apple. Microsoft continues to break to the downside, 2.45% to the downside. This trend line broke. It's irrelevant, bearish on all time frames, and Microsoft, since the peak of beginning of July until now, 10.7% to the downside. Earnings coming up Tuesday after the bell. We have a gap at the 399. What do you think? Where Microsoft is heading? Will we close this gap? We have Friday, Monday, and Tuesday. 3 trading days to close this gap. It's another 4.6% to the downside. And if you're a pattern seeker, pattern trader, what do we see here? We can see left shoulder, head, and maybe touch. Closing this gap and the right shoulder. But as you know, Fibonacci traders, we don't follow patterns because patterns are not reliable whatsoever. The only thing we need to focus is read price action. If we cannot read price action, we don't need to, because if we have the FTI in our chart, we don't need to look at this. We only need to look at this one, this table, time frame table over here. Google, for example, bearish on all time frames. So if I want to start buying Google, bearish on all time frames, why start buying? We need at least bullish on the daily and bullish on the 4 hours to start feeling a trend reversal. Until then, Google downtrend towards the 156 gap. Once this gap will get filled, then we will look for a bounce. Tesla 2% to the upside. Tesla still did not fill this gap at the 213.71. This gap needs to get filled. Maybe Friday, the last day of this week, maybe we will fill this gap, and then 207 is the next support. Nvidia continues to slide to the downside, 1.72. Nvidia during hours closed this gap over here at the 106 and bounce. We are still bearish on all time frames, so don't try to catch a falling knife. Don't try to predict the dip. And moreover, if someone tells you this is the dip, this is the time to start buying, stay away. Stay away, because no one knows where the dip is, same as no one knows where the top is. We are now still under the impression of a double top scenario that can take us all the way back to the 88, with filling this gap at the 96 on the way down. Amazon 0.5% to the downside, still below the yellow zone, still bearish on all time frames. 174 is next support. Amazon earnings coming up Thursday, August 1st, after the bell. Amazon also have a gap at the 160. Netflix sliding down slowly, trying to stay inside the yellow zone. 616 is the next support. Below it, 591 and 550 incoming, bearish on all time frames. AMD continues to break to the downside. Look at this. AMD year to date minus 4.13 to the downside. AMD year to date minus 4% to the downside, breaking below this trend line, breaking below this broadening formation. Now 137 is all the support. Otherwise, we are heading to this broadening formation, to this lower border of this broadening formation. Earnings coming up Tuesday. Will the earnings of AMD save AMD? Will the market save AMD after the earnings? For now, bearish on all time frames, going to the 105. Meta 1.7% to the downside. Meta also Wednesday, July 31st, after the bell. Earnings on Meta 442. Below it 400. This gap needs to get filled. Ladies and gentlemen, we have too many gaps to the downside on all the big names, and in my opinion, all these gaps will get filled in the next week, and then we will see some kind of a consolidation before September, going into Q4, October, Q4 of 2024, and then next leg up. Palantir trying to save itself above the yellow zone, but for now, mixed signals, bearish on the daily, bullish on the weekly. 25 needs to hold, then we will see 24 to the downside. The Shopify 0.3% to the downside with a doji. 61 now is the resistance, 56 is the next support. Nothing much on. We have this broadening formation, and look at this trend line. Support for the lower lows. It's a bad support. It supports for lower lows. It's a bad support. Doji of this trend line now. Let's see, can we get some kind of a bounce back to the 64.50? We still have 2 weeks until Shopify's earnings. MicroStrategy another day, 4% to the downside. We are now struggling. We are not struggling. Price is struggling to stay above the yellow zone, but mixed signals on MicroStrategy. So if we have mixed signals according to the FTI, we stay away. SMCI 2.2% to the downside. You know this red trend line? Of course you do. We've been talking about this red trend line. Just go back in the past few days. Watch my recent market recaps and you will see we've been talking about this red trend line, and we said breaking below the 797, below the lower board of the yellow zone, we are heading to this red trend line. And look at this. Perfectly touched. Doji. Still bearish on all time frames. Earnings coming up August 6th. Still have time, but a doji. We might get the bounce. Same we saw here. Same as we saw here. Same as we saw here. Every time SMCI having a doji of this red trend line, we're having some kind of a bounce. Still early to know. I would not touch SMCI until Monday. AVGO another day, closing this gap, finally closing this gap at the 146. And we know gaps are likely 90% will get filled. Now, we're still bearish on all time frames. The good side, the positive side is we have a doji of a trend line and we have a gap to the upside. Can we see some kind of a bounce on Broadcom? Still early. I would wait for a break and a close above the 157 area. Eli Lilly, 4.5% to the downside. Eli Lilly just gave back 2 months of gains in just 1 week. 2 months of gains gave back in 1 week. Bearish on all time frames, falling knife. Never try to catch a falling knife. You know why? Because you will cut your hands. You will blow up your account. So once again, thank you very much for watching this video. I do hope you found it helpful, educational. Like, subscribe, check the links in the description below. Choose your path to financial freedom. Until the next video, stay safe.